Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. My brother is a fairly well-known artist in my area. He's a sculptor and a complete piece of crap. My wife loves him and has always supported him. She would show everyone his sculpture he made for her and people would buy from him. Her sculpture is one of the very first ones he made after he got out of rehab for the millionth time. He was at our house a month ago and he saw his sculpture. He said that he was embarrassed by how crappy it was compared to what he makes now. He asked if he could take it and rework it to make it better. My wife agreed because she's an amazing and trusting woman. He sold it. He sold it for $15,000, which wasn't enough to pay off the people that he owed money to. He could have asked me for the money and I would have paid it. Instead, he broke my wife's heart and I hate him for doing that. I went to see him in the hospital and told him he was dead to me and never to come near my family again. My mom called me to scream at me for putting more stress on him when he's in such a vulnerable point in his life. I told her that if she ever mentioned him to me again, I will tell my kids to choose between her and me. I know it seems extreme, but you have no idea what this did to my wife. My father called to talk to me about it and said my mother was inconsolable. I told him that his other son stole not just a crappy piece of art, but my wife's belief in his redemption. I said that if my mother insisted on messing with me over her piece of crap son, I would do what I said. I'm so angry right now that I'm not really thinking straight. I need perspective. Am I the bonehead? Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. He stole from your wife and broke your trust. He's obviously some sort of addict, and it sounds like this is just the last straw in a line of crappy behavior. You have every right to cut him out of your life. Forgiving him would just be enabling his addiction and criminal behavior further. You were a little extreme with your mom, but I see where you're coming from. She's babying and defending the artistic addict and trying to use his addiction as a reason why you should forgive and support him. It doesn't work that way. It can hurt a lot when you're the good son, and yet you're the one that gets crapped on because the one that breaks the law is more vulnerable. Set a clear boundary that you will not acknowledge or discuss your brother, and anytime she tries, you will hang up on her or leave the place if in person. No other ultimatum is needed. Just hold firm and enforce your boundary. Let her know you love her, but you won't get sucked into your brother's drama and trauma anymore. You have to protect your wife and kids from his criminal activity. Not the bonehead. I had brothers and was nearly killed when I fell through an attic that my brother deliberately made me fall through. Then when the brake line was cut on my car and I almost hit an 18-wheeler, my mom excused because family. OP replied, I've excused a lot from him. He can hurt me, not my wife. Not the bonehead. He stole a $15,000 sculpture. Report the theft. Have him arrested. Have the police recover the sculpture. He will still have stolen your wife's trust, but the sculpture would be back. By the way, that is a felony theft. $15,000 is over the prosecution limit. Not the bonehead. It doesn't sound like there's a point in your brother's life in which he wasn't vulnerable and your mother is probably enabling his crappy behavior. Just because he's family doesn't mean he's automatically forgiven. In fact, it sounds like he missed the last stop on the train to redemption. I agree with cutting him out of your life, and your mother is going to have to accept a new normal if she wants to maintain a relationship with you. Your parents may feel like they signed up for this and are obligated to deal with it, but you and your wife sure as hell did not. Background. I moved in with my wife back in May. Prior to that, we were long distance for years. When we combined households, I brought my 2 cats. There was some friction at first because she is very much unfamiliar with animals. In her entire childhood, she never had so much as a gerbil, but she did warm up to them over time. She still isn't entirely comfortable though, so as a compromise, the house is divided into cat and no cat areas. They're allowed free reign of the basement, they aren't allowed into the bedroom, kitchen, or bathroom, and they're allowed out in the main floor, but only when I'm home to supervise them. So far, this compromise has worked well for us. The incident occurred on my day off. I was still in bed when my wife, who was getting ready for work, she leaves very early, woke me up. One of the cats had escaped into the main room and she needed me to come get him to put him back downstairs. I have tried to show her how to wrangle cats before. How to pick them up so she's supporting their weight, how to shoo them out of a room, how to use a spray bottle as a deterrent to keep them off furniture, etc. However, she's been reluctant to use any of what I've taught her. So she did none of those things and asked me to help instead. When I asked her why she didn't simply pick him up and put him in the other room, she said she literally couldn't do it. Reddit: this is a 12.8-pound neutered indoor house cat who has the sunny disposition of a brainless orange tabby. This is not a Maine Coon, a hefty boy, or a feral tomcat. He will happily let people pick him up and move him. He likes the attention. I expressed my disbelief at this. A child or a little old lady can pick up and move a friendly house cat. It's not difficult, and it's something she needs to be able to do in case this kind of thing happens when I'm away at work. And here is where I may have erred. I used the words weaponized incompetence. I love my wife dearly, but this isn't an isolated incident with her, and I'm not the only person in her life she's done this with. Having seen a bit of the family dynamic in action, I think she learned from a young age that she can get out of certain tasks by pleading helplessness. Now she's furious with me, less so for the cat thing and more so for the use of the words weaponized incompetence. She's also mad at the implication that I actually don't believe her when she says she physically cannot lift the cat. She has no disability or inability that would preclude her from lifting that amount of weight. Am I the bonehead? Not the bonehead. I do think she just may have a general fear, so I think this is why she can't lift it. Not because of the weight, but because of being scared to, which is fine. But, and this is why I say you're not the bonehead, I do also believe she's being unreasonable about the situation. Keeping your pets in the basement for the majority of their lives is not a fair compromise. These are living animals that deserve being in the home. Not in the bedroom? Fair. Not on the countertops? Fair. The rest is not, and I think she'll slowly build up on that because she simply is afraid or just doesn't like cats. Who cares if the cat was in the living room? Finish getting ready and leave. The cat isn't going to chase you. This would be a deal breaker for me though. My cats are a part of the family. You don't need to pet them, but they deserve to roam freely, within reason, around the house. I think you all need to have a serious conversation on your living situation before this builds up even worse, because this will only be the beginning. OP replied, before you worry about the cat's well-being, you should know that I'd never confine them to a tiny space. Our basement has about the same amount of square footage as my old apartment and is semi-finished, meaning the main area is well lit, has a ceiling, and is a comfortable space. The former owners used it as a bar. They have windows to look out of, a cat tree, and space to run around. This was a major factor when we were looking for a house. Believe me, they're comfortable down there. They just want to be up where my wife and I are because, well, we give them attention and play with them. And it's both of us that give them attention, not just me. But it's hard to get them to understand that some doors lead to no cat areas or that the main area is off limits when I'm not in it. Everyone sucks here. While your assessment that your cat is harmless might be accurate, animals can sense when people are stressed or agitated and may respond accordingly. Please keep in mind that up until 3 months ago, your wife had never had any kind of pet. Your cat would likely behave very differently when you, who would be calm and comfortable, picks it up versus your wife, who would be stressed and uncomfortable. I had a cat growing up who was sweet as can be to me, but could be quite aggressive to other people. Your wife is clearly not comfortable with the cats and hasn't had a lot of time to acclimate to them. It certainly seems to me that her issue was with picking up the cat at all, not that it was too heavy. She should have been simply forthright about her reservations. I don't know if I would go as far as to call it weaponized incompetence, and you probably shouldn't have used that word choice regardless, but it does chafe a bit that she wouldn't be honest about why she wanted you to move the cat for her. I think you both need to apologize for your parts in this conflict and have a thorough discussion about your expectations and plans for managing your household. I don't think that just keeping the cats segregated is a sustainable long-term option. I wouldn't consider her discomfort at physically handling a live animal an act of weaponized incompetence. In all honesty, if she's not comfortable picking up the cat, then she absolutely should not be picking up the cat for her own safety and the cat's safety. Everyone sucks here. My 34 male partner Kate, 36 female, just made a blow-up fight that centered around her son Chad, 5 male. I know no one is blameless in this situation. However, I don't feel like I own the lion's share. I've told my partner's son Chad not to ride his bike and scooter between the cars. To be clear, he has room to ride where we live. I'm just asking him to ride the bike 10 yards or so instead of riding out of the garage past the cars. He continued doing it and scratched Kate's car a couple of months ago. She acted like it was no big deal and said it's just the cost of being a parent. I asked her to make it a rule, no biking by the cars. She refused and told me I'm being too strict on a little boy. Chad just scratched the living hell out of my car. Like, without being dramatic, I could get a dime stuck in it. He also dented it. I jumped up to check it out. When I saw it, I was instantly furious. I smacked the roof of my car and yelled, "Get your butt inside, you're on timeout," at Chad. I shouted in a way they're not used to hearing from me, so it was extra shocking for everyone, I'm sure. Chad starts crying and Kate is livid with me, saying I'm not her son's father and have no right to yell at him. I was angry and told her, all of this is your fault. You own every bit of it. You refuse to set rules, and I'm the one that's going to suffer because of it. We're not talking. She also never offered to pay for my car or made Chad say sorry. Am I the bonehead? Update. Thank you very much to every single person who replied. I never was under the delusion that I was not a bonehead in this situation. My partner just made me feel as if she had no share of the blame, and I needed another perspective if this was correct. I don't know if this relationship is going to move forward. Kate and Chad just came back from the store and he got a new toy and gumballs for his mini gumball machine since he had such a rough day. This felt overly insulting and as if poor behavior and damage to my property were being rewarded. Chad seems to forgive and forget, as young kids will. I asked him if he could forgive me, and he does. He even asked if I would come outside and watch him ride his bike, right past the cars. I kept my mouth shut because that's what his mother wants. Update 2. After Chad went to bed, I asked Kate if we could talk and try to reason. She was very emotional and it became clear that I'm going to gain no headway as far as behavior is concerned. She also made it clear that she also has zero intentions of paying for the damage to my car. Thanks everyone for the advice again and for taking time out of your day to weigh in. Now for some comments. Everyone sucks here. Yelling at a 5-year-old isn't cool. Problem is Kate, who wants you as a partner for herself while not allowing you to parent her child even though you're all living together as a family unit. I think you need to be allowed to parent Chad in as much as him being a person you can stand to live with. If you're expected to bear the cost of being a parent, you have the right to set the rules as a parent. OP replied, I agree. I absolutely should not have yelled. It was a selfish and immature reaction. Had it been an accident that I didn't foresee and attempt to prevent for months, I want to believe I'd handle it much better. Not the bonehead. Kate refuses to set enforceable boundaries, discipline her child, or pay for damages he has caused. He's 5 now. Do you really want to stick around for the consequences of Kate's permissive parenting? Talk to Kate. If she doesn't step up soon, it's time to move on, no matter how much you love her. You deserve better than this. Good luck. OP replied, Thanks. I know I messed up in this situation, but it seems like in Kate's mind, my overreaction outweighs everything else. Everyone sucks here. You know you shouldn't have yelled. I'm a parent and I've yelled. We all do it. Just apologize to him. Your partner is a solid bonehead for allowing this to continue. You made a reasonable request that was ignored. You didn't do yourself any favors here by yelling, but the bigger picture is there seems to be some compatibility issues with your parenting. This will never change. Either accept it or move on. Also, as a dad that used to get mad and loud, it's not the most effective way. I can look at my son with a stink eye and get a better response than when I used to get mad. I've seen some people post some stories here, so I decided to make an account and look for an outside perspective. I, 31 female, have a son, 15 male, that I gave birth to at 16. It was a dumb mistake and it gave me a bunch of struggles, but I don't regret it now. My son is agoraphobic and only gets out of the house to go to school. He has been on summer break for the past week, but he didn't go to school in his last week, so he had been inside for the past 2 weeks. I made a habit that whenever I walk my dog, I ask him if he wants to come, and he has denied me for the past 2 weeks. He doesn't come most of the time, but usually does, so about once a week. Today, when I was getting ready, he came up to me and asked if he could come with us, and of course I said yes. On the other hand, my boyfriend, 34 male, has a big problem with this for whatever reason. Sometimes my son gets overstimulated and decides that he doesn't want to go a few minutes into our walk, so we just cut it short, and today was one of those days. My boyfriend asked me why we were back so early, and I said that my son didn't feel comfortable, so we came back, and he flipped out on me, saying that's my fault, and that I told him to get out so much that he felt pressed to come with me when he clearly didn't want to. I don't know what to think. I don't see what I did as wrong. I only asked if he wanted to come with me, never told him to. Did I do something wrong here? Edit. For the people asking or telling me to put my son in therapy, he is and has been for the past few months. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead, but your boyfriend is. You're supporting your son, offering him a chance to come without pressuring him and listening to him when he's over his threshold. Your boyfriend, however, is reacting to something perhaps in his own past. The only things I can suggest is that if your son isn't already receiving therapy, you get him some ASAP, and that you ask your son if he feels pressured. So long as he understands there's no pressure, no problem if he says no, then no harm, no foul. Tell your boyfriend to back off and not put his own issues on your son. If it's truly a phobia, you can't just force him through it. Your boyfriend has no say over how you parent your son, not the bonehead. Not the bonehead. I'm mostly agoraphobic, past 4 years, other than the rare grocery run, only pickup. I have panic attacks if I'm out too long. Your son wanted to test his comfort, and that's great. You always kept the door open in case he wanted to try, and that is so helpful. I get why your boyfriend thinks your son must have felt guilted into trying, but he has to. On his own time. But he does need to try. It's not okay for him to blame you. Your son trying bit by bit is a good thing. It's okay to come back early. He took the step in the right direction. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you like these stories, please consider subscribing. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. Bye for now.